Hey, everybody out there on YouTube. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to the pre-show, the show cocktail hour. I'm Jay, that's Aaron.
Heyo.
And that's Tony.
Hello.
And this is the aforementioned pre-show cocktail hour. I am sipping on triple bourbon Vernors, a drink straight from our show today, Detroiters. You guys sipping on anything tasty?
Homemade Mountain Dew.
Ooh.
And by homemade, I mean just with the soda stream.
Just water over here.
Man, not to go all foil hatty, but you know how Pepsi is the only company that you can get the official flavors for the SodaStream for?
Yes.
Did you know that's because Pepsi owns SodaStream?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I feel like you also get some like Dollar General type flavors that are not what Pepsi would put out. Like, I'm curious about that, like, because you definitely have like a Dr. Pepper analog that I don't think that Pepsi has a Dr. Pepper analog on the market, do they?
No, but they there is the SodaStream Dr. Pete.
That's what I'm saying. Is there, there's so who's making Dr. Pete? Is it a Walmart thing?
I feel like that was Dr. Thunder, if I remember right.
You might be right. The problem is that living in the area, like you have like Dr. K, Dr. Thunder, Dr. Skipper, like there's so many different Dr. Pepper analogs when it comes to Dollar General store and Walmart like brands.
Yeah. And I've braved the SodaStream Dr. Pete, and I would not recommend it.
The Mountain Dew's great. I thoroughly enjoy the Mountain Dew. Like it, not missing out on anything.
Yeah, I got some of the zero sugar Pepsi, and that one was pretty good. Hashtag not a sponsor.
I like the zero like subtitle drinks they're pretty good. Like Coke Zero is pretty darn delicious.
Here's
Dr.
my
Pepper
tinfoil
Zero
hat.
is good. It's not as good as like comparatively Coke Zero Coke. Dr. Pepper Zero is not like that quality, but it's still pretty good.
I agree with you there, but here's my tinfoil hat. Like, some of the sodas had changed formulas going from diet to zero, and some of them, I don't believe they did. And here is my reasoning. Like, Coke Zero, yes, that is a new formulation. Dr. Pepper Zero, that is also a new formulation. That doesn't taste like Diet Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper tastes like ass. No offense. Hashtag no sponsor. But Diet Mountain Dew and Mountain Dew Zero, I drink both because I got like a bundle where it was like, hey, here's, Diet Mountain Dew and here's Mountain Dew Zero, like bundled together off of Amazon. And I've made both, and I honestly cannot tell a difference. Now, maybe in the SodaStream, they just relabeled everything as zero and just were like, meh. But I honestly believe that probably a lot, like Fanta Zero and stuff, probably didn't get a change. Probably just marketing.
It's hard to find Fanta Zero. I have no problem finding like Dr. Pepper Zero, Mountain Dew Zero, everything else. But I rarely see Fanta Zero. That's the one I want.
Depends on the flavor of Fanta. I feel like I see Fanta Orange, but if you want to get wild with it, you're not getting zero of the wild flavors.
I just want the orange. Sprite Zero is pretty good too. But I haven't had like regular Sprite in a while, so maybe it's garbage, but it's all right.
Maybe this is the triple bourbon already talking, but I miss the Fantanas.
Do you miss Sprite Remix?
Was that the green one?
No. Well, I think Sprite is green. No,
what?
Sprite's clear. It's just in a green bottle.
Yeah. Well, it's got a green label. No, Sprite Remix. It was like the fruity mixture one. It was like,
yeah,
early 2000s. I remember it. I don't remember it tasting good, but I remember it was always around.
Ooh,
probably because they made too much of it.
There's a new one called Sprite Chill. This is actually pretty good. That I just randomly saw for the first time a few weeks ago. I don't know how to go to CVS to drop off a FedEx package or something. And it was there. And it was actually, I think it's better than regular Sprite. It's like, I guess, got a slight cherry flavor into it.
Mm.
I've always felt like 7-Up needed a cherry flavor to it just because of the red dot. So has anybody been watching anything good outside of the show for Show?
Previously on the show.
Are they making more Fall of the House of Usher?
I don't think so.
They should not.
I was really, really into it, and then it kind of just like went too hard.
At that point, it's kind of like Drag Me to Hell. Love this movie. But like whenever the poster that you saw going into the theater said in 3 days she goes to hell, and then that's what happens, like, you know, sometimes it just is what it is.
How'd you feel about Saving Private Ryan?
Did I like his Dark Materials more than this? No. But it was aesthetically more pleasing than this.
Peace up, A-Town down.
Now that's the Black Eyed Peas.
Full points, full marks so far. You feeling confident?
Not at all.
Jay's not gonna like this.
That is mind-boggling to me.
Hello, and you're watching The Show, probably the world's best TV review podcast. Warmest greetings and welcome to episode 72. We are the Baby Carrot Boys, and here today we review the 2017 Comedy Central buddy sitcom starring the great Sam Richardson and the great Tim Robinson. To our mouths and buttholes, may they never meet. This time on the show, Detroiters. I'd like to welcome you inside the broadcast booth. I'm Jay. I'm joined, as always, by my two Hall of Famers. To my left, we have a brilliant master of the comedic arts, recently released from the insane asylum. My college roommate, a man who used to change my diapers, and the show's foremost expert on the musical stylings of Usher. It's Aaron.
Hey-o.
And to my other left, my next-door neighbor and brother-in-law, not to mention the only reason why I've ever seen the inside of an airport lounge, it's Tony.
Hello.
Here at the show, 100% customer satisfaction is our holy grail. We want to hear from you. Check out our Instagram for news about the show, including our upcoming tour, convention, and cruise, along with plenty of other bonus content. You can find that at the Show Pod. Send your emails to the showshowtvpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Discord. If I ever figure that out, I'll send you the link. You can find me individually at jsuesponte. Aaron, where can we find you?
The Muscoverse at Tenacious Aaron.
And how about you, Tony?
Find me on Instagram at tpinquite.
The show is now available everywhere podcasts are sold. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. You can also check out our YouTube channel, where we traditionally do a pre-show cocktail hour. You can find us on YouTube at Mandamus Radio. But before we pour ourselves a tall glass of Faygo, we must first visit the unofficial scoreboard. Later on, we'll give some reviews of the show, including a number rating. But for now, we divert to talk about other things not picked by the Wheel of Randomonium. So, Aaron, Tony, anything you've been watching, doing, playing lately?
Well, for the spooky season, my wife and I have been watching the Alien movies because we had not watched Alien Romulus. And you know what? You know, some of these movies are really, really good. Like, I really enjoy Prometheus. Covenant was fine. Every time I see it, I laugh that James Franco, like, gets killed off in the first, 10 seconds of the movie. But I have to say, Romulus, I was not a huge fan of. It felt like the movie was a bit ridiculous. And that's saying a lot for the Alien franchise, which kind of thrives on being ridiculous. But this was even more ridiculous. Like, one of my favorite moments in it, just, like, somebody is like, oh, a character that we've seen twice. By the way, she's pregnant. Like, I was like, what? I feel like you should write more story before that happens, like, actually develop things. But it feels like it was very much, taped together. But outside of that, it's been fun going back and watching these ridiculous movies, especially when you go back and watch the first one and realize how much it is just a dude in a suit walking around. And it's menacing, but it's really chunky compared to the later aliens that are super lean and terrifying looking. It's just a dude laid up in a suit, hanging out.
Man, I kind of feel like that describes my legal career.
Well, there's just a scene in the first movie, it's a very old spoiler if you haven't seen it, where like the alien is laying down in the shuttle, and it's just like a dude laying on top of the computer, and I was like, this looks funny. Like it's just like a dude in a giant black suit with the big alien helmet, and it's good. The movie holds up. Like it's a solid movie, but time has definitely done some damage to the special effects.
Since you've recently watched all of them, like I hadn't, but like in Romulus, things seem to happen very quickly, more quickly than I remember them happening, but I hadn't seen the movies in a while. Like, is it way faster as far as like timelines, specifically like chest burster timelines and stuff like that?
I do feel like it was faster. I feel like from mouth breather, if we go back to the first movie, the guy gets the mouth breather on him, and like face hugger, and he's like down, he's in the ICU, he's like out, and then all of a sudden he's up, and they're hanging out with him, and they're talking, and he's feeling better, and he starts eating food, right, and they're all having dinner together, and it's like in the middle of the dinner sequence that the chest burst happens. So like her, like the things on her, they run back to the ship, and like boom, it's bursting out of its chest. Completely agree. That's what I mean. It feels like somebody knew the story of Alien and like didn't actually watch the movie. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh yeah, chest burst and Alien in the face and all that stuff, and yeah, we're good. Like my thing was like, how did we get 400 of these things running around the spaceship? Like I was like, what is happening? How did we go from 1 to 400 like that?
So like Mike Flanagan makes an Alien movie?
Yeah, like it was. It was like Mike Flanagan's like interns, like not without watching the movie, made this, like the people who worked with him on, all of his stuff. But outside of that, it's been fun because we've been like kind of mixing that up with other scary movies. We watched, this is not a scary movie, but we did watch a movie called Lake Caddo, which it was filmed out at Lake Caddo, like, outside of DFW. And I think it was produced by M. Night Shyamalan, but I was laughing because it was like mediocre, but people were like, it's a scary movie. I was like, it was not scary. It was like just one of those like movies that are just kind of creepy. There was some like very Lynchian vibes and stuff like that in cinematography, but then like ultimately it was M. Night Shyamalan, so they're not going to land it 9 times out of 10. So it just ended up not being a great scary movie for the season. But that's been my unfortunate investment into some movies.
Have y'all seen Shyamalan's Daughters movie that came out?
No, tell me more.
Oh, I can't even remember what it's called, but
I never saw that one with what's the new one with the serial killer? Trapped or something like
Trapped. It keeps getting advertised on HBO.
What is Daughters supposed to be about?
I'm searching it right now.
The Watchers.
Oh, The Watchers. That was M. Night Shyamalan?
That was his daughter.
Ishana Night Shyamalan. Did you see it?
No, it seemed interesting.
well.
It had like Dakota Fanning in it, right, or something like that.
I'll tell Christy about it. We'll probably end up watching it. She's created a laundry list. We did watch Long Legs, which people were raving about.
Ooh, I wanted to see that.
It's worth watching. Visually, very, very interesting. But again, I felt like at the end of it, I was like, why is this? Why did people rave about this? Just Nick Cage's performance, which is wild and weird and interesting, but outside of that, I feel like horror's gotten really hard for people to nail down. Like there's some great horror films out there, and lately I feel like a lot of them are stinkers.
Did I talk about seeing Death Becomes Her for the first time?
Oh, you did not.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
It's pretty good.
It's
the
good.
effects are actually, they're pretty good. They still kind of, I mean, obviously you can tell like some of it's dated, but some of it's still pretty good. A lot of it's practical enough to pass. And like, there was one line that I remember it, but I don't want to like say, in case I said it last time, just like.
You didn't say it.
Have you seen it, Jay?
No, I'm out of the loop on this.
Okay. I don't want to spoil it because like there's actually like a legitimate like line that I cracked up for like a minute on that happens in the movie.
I mean, go ahead. It's a horror movie. I'm not going to see it.
It's not a horror movie, is it?
It's not. It's just like a
It's like a slapstick comedy, like dark comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's got Bruce Willis.
Yep. Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep.
Goldie Hawn, yeah, and Meryl Streep. I guess that's why I was on my mind for Meryl Streep earlier. But Bruce Willis, like the whole first part of the movie, I'm like, I get why it's Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn in this movie, but I'm like, why is Bruce Willis's character like? Why does this guy have to be Bruce Willis? This could be any Joe.
But he used to be a comedian. Like he used to do like funny stuff, right? Sitcoms or whatever. I feel like that's part of the reason.
But he did nail it, like, because like his role got bigger, and I was like, okay, now I see why it's like an actual actor and not some random person in there. But like, he's married to Meryl Streep, and she's like a horrible, like egotistical actress. She like treats him like dirt. But like, they become immortal, but not that they can't die. Like you can still die, and their bodies will rot. Anyway, this one part, she gets taken to the morgue because like they take her to the doctor and her heart's not beating and everything like that. She's dead. And then I don't know, he's away from her or something, and he loses her, and he's looking for her, and the doctor is like, where's my wife? And he's like, they took her to the morgue. He's like, the morgue? She'll be furious. And I don't know, like in the movie, like I can't make it funny now telling it to you, but in the movie, like at that point, it was just like the funniest thing that he could have said. And I laughed forever when he said that. Just like, she'll be furious line got me. Now that I'm done with the story, I realize it was super not funny when I said it. Watch the movie.
No, it was funny. I remember the scene. I can actually hear Bruce Willis in my head screaming, "The morgue! She's going to be furious!" Like I know the scene.
Well, now you know it's coming, Jay. But it was funny.
Okay, I can't wait.
Anyway, that was pretty good. I didn't think it was gonna be. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I had like low expectations going in, but it was pretty good for a Halloween-y type movie.
Did you play any of Space Marine 2?
No, I've been hitting the new Diablo 4 expansion pretty hard. I've pretty much like peaked on what I can do unless I want to just grind forever to get slightly better upgrades on gear and stuff.
Yeah.
I heard Space Marine 2 is good. Blops 6 just came out like last Friday, I guess a few days ago. So
the new Call of Duty?
Yeah, I'll try to play that a little bit. I've been playing zombies. Played the campaign, beat it. It was all right.
I haven't played a Call of Duty in a while. Like, a good while.
It's been a few years for me, too.
Aren't they on, like, Ghost Patrol 7?
Ghost Patrol.
What's it called?
Call of Duty Black Ops 6?
Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
It's like, they're on, now that's what I call Music 49. It's like, that number's too high. I don't like this.
No, it's basically the John Madden like formula, right?
Right.
Like they just keep on releasing the same game over and over again. Like my question is the like two houses and the street with the trucks in the middle, like is that level put in this game again? Like because I feel like every couple of games Nuketown makes it back into the rotation of levels, and that's to me really funny because it's like humans really are predictable. Like people are like, yeah, let's play our favorite game just like always on the same level we always play and spend hours doing it just like we did last year. And again, I say this having played, a 20-year-old version of World of Warcraft. So
I got some buddies that have gotten pretty hardcore back into Warcraft lately. It looks like based on their like BattleNet, I see them like online all the time.
Retail and Cataclysm are really popular. Apparently, they're also launching fresh vanilla or Classic Plus servers. I have my raid team and guild fell apart, and I have kind of stopped playing WoW, and have been spending all of that time building Warhammer models. So that has been my hobby du jour outside of watching scary movies with Christy.
Have you seen it's like a meme I've been seeing popping up where it's like John Cena looking sad, like with like the sad music, like that little sad song is like, but it's like people put it always starts off like you're in the hospital thinking you just have a cold, but then blank walks in, and it's like one of them is like you're in the hospital thinking you just have a cold, and Henry Cavill walks in his Space Marine costume. And it's just like sad music playing with John Cena realizing that he's going to die. He's going to die because it's like Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm guessing that's the implication. That's how I would take it, at least.
The joke's anal, right? Did I get the joke correctly?
I have not seen that one. but I have seen the one where they've got an AI Space Marine singing "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John, which is pretty great. That and like tons of Creed. Like, I don't know what it is with like the resurgence of Creed, but they definitely had the Space Marines singing "Can You Take Me Higher," and you know, that was pretty fun too. That's funny. I feel like it's funny ironically, but there's definitely probably people who are like, man, this is such a fun, great version of this song.
The Creed thing is kind of hard to gauge.
I feel like because we live through the era of hipsters, like there's always that, like, is this popular ironically? And I don't think that is what it is. I think that this is a situation where you have the children of the bro dudes, like, are now old enough to, like, be like, we like this type of music. Just like whenever I was in high school and they were like the people who were like, I like classic music, like classic rock, not classic music, but like I like classic rock because my parents like they listen to that era of music or whatever, right? It's the same thing, except for that era of music that their parents listen to is basically like Creed and Pearl Jam.
I will say there was a concert up here, and it was Finger 11, Three Doors Down, and Creed, and it was actually a pretty great concert. The weather was perfect, and everyone sounded pretty good, and there was, like you're saying, there's a lot of young people at that concert that I did not expect, but it was a great dose of nostalgia. It was a good concert. I'm not embarrassed to say it.
I'm not going to say you should be, but I remember in America where it was, you know, very acceptable to make fun of Creed and Nickelback, and it seems like that America is disappearing.
Rock flag and eagle.
You know, I'll give you "With Arms Wide Open." That's a terrible song, but like "Take Me Higher," that's a jam.
I feel like I can't not sing it, like making fun of it though. Like it's kind of like I feel like I cannot ever sing a Pearl Jam song without being sarcastic. like there's not a way for me to actively sing a Pearl Jam song where I'm not like making a ridiculous voice, because it's in my mind it's just something to make fun of. It is just ridiculous and funny. At the same time, I love falsetto voices from the 70s, which a lot of people could easily make fun of as being ridiculous. Fair game, right?
Yeah,
So,
you're the one who introduced me to Steel Panther.
I'm just saying, Steel Panther, ridiculous, funny, offensive, trigger warning.
Did we get to Jay's unofficial score?
Yeah, no, what's your unofficials?
Oh, damn, I didn't write anything down. All I'd say is go vote. If you are eligible to go vote, go vote. I voted and it was great, and I would recommend it to everyone. So go do that.
I did too. I voted on Friday. It was easy peasy.
Here we go.
This was the first election where there were more paper ballot like pollster areas than electronic ballots being out in the outskirts. So, like, I walked in and it was like 2 electronic ballot machines and then like 20. Like, basically just like those things that you see at the science fair, you know, that like the kids put up their stuff. It's like the poster board that like bends in on the side. They had those set up on a bunch of desks for people to vote at. And they were like really pushing the paper ballots hard. Like, you paper ballot? Or do you want to wait in line with all those other people to use the electronic one? It's like a wait in line?
It's going to switch your vote. Is that a Dominion machine?
It's probably no. Even worse. It's funny. Like I was like, I remember the days whenever you got the ballot and it was like a Scantron and you couldn't tell what the shit it said afterwards.
Yeah.
It was like, here's who he voted for, and I was like, that lady, whenever she scanned at the end, she knows who everybody's voting for because she's just staring at it as they're putting it in.
Great advice, Jay. Thanks for inspiring our youth to
I do my best.
vote.
I do my best. But the clock has struck midnight. We all know what that means. Let no man mention his name, lest that man become him. So let's hustle. But we have gathered here today to talk about the Comedy Central series Detroiters. This was my pick, so let me tell you a little bit about it. Detroiters is a sitcom aired on Comedy Central for 2 seasons, spanning 2017 and 2018. We follow ad executives and best friends Tim Cramblin and Sam Duvet of Cramblin and later Cramblin Duvet Advertising. Tim has inherited the business from his legendary father, who is now locked up Kevin Garvey Sr. style, and he now runs the business with the help of best friend and brother-in-law Sam. Cramblin Duvet specializes in television spots for local small businesses like mom-and-pop furniture stores, hot tub stores, and a wig shop that no longer uses hair from dead people. There isn't much of a plot to summarize or a lot of character development to speak of. The show's mostly just about Tim and Sam's friendship, and we've got a healthy cast of supporting characters. Sorry, I thought somebody was going to say something.
No, I'm over here laughing because the definitely doesn't sell hair from dead people.
Devereaux.
Oh.
There are times that this show had me like dying laughing. I'm over here laughing right now because of that. But like there were other times that I was just like cringing so hard.
I think it had me in the first episode when they're going into the steakhouse and they're putting the sauce on their ties so they can be like, we were here earlier. We were definitely eating here at the restaurant.
You know what I have to give them props for as like making an advertising agency the like concept of the show, because then you got to actually like, even though part of the thing is like they're bad at their job, like you got to actually think of like stores and ads for stores. Like it's a hard concept to go with. Like there had been much easier things they could have tried as far as like running a small business.
But also the show would not work if they didn't already have money coming in, right? Like that. Because they were not great at their job at times.
Well, as I discovered, mostly because I'm married to someone who grew up in the Detroit area, like this show had levels where, like, on one level it's just a funny show, but pretty much all of those ads and all of those clients shown in the show are riffs on or parodies of real life Detroit ads and businesses. Like
that would make it good.
I assume that it's kind of like whenever you watch something that's done by the guy that did King of the Hill, right? And he has like a reference to like Mike Judge, right? Like he'll have like Arlen. It's clearly Garland, right? Like you're like, oh yeah, no,
exactly.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, like the Devereaux wigs. There was a fur store. And like even with the lawyer, like there was a very similar lawyer who did like a pun on his name. So like those are really fun to Google and look up the inspirations for each of the ads from this show.
Was there a Smiling Jacks?
You mean Farmer's ads?
No, the smiling Jack with all the penises and stuff drawn on his billboards and stuff.
Oh my god. That one I don't know. I'll have to look up. We had some good guest stars in here too. We had Tim Meadows. We had Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
Jason Sudeikis.
Gail the Snail.
Well, I was bullied as a kid, so that sort of thing isn't fun for me.
Yeah, get out of here! Oh, he's got the snail!
I like the show. I think for me, it's kind of like Tim Robinson is like Will Ferrell, where it's just like when he's halfway normal, I think I really enjoy it. But when he starts like just screaming for no reason and going hard on the like, it kind of loses me. Like when Will Ferrell starts just like overly screaming when he doesn't have to. So, but she doesn't do it all the time. So like like Aaron would say, is like a lot of things cracked me up in this show. Overall, I thought it was super funny. I just like, it turns me off when they go super cringe and super just like yell stupid stuff for no reason.
Like, I was a huge fan of Tim and Eric. Awesome show, great job. And there are definitely elements of this show that feel very much in line, like they could have been pulled from bits, like Tim and Eric bits. Especially like whenever Tim is going ridiculous, that's the things that, and it's like yelling, those types of moments I feel like what I would refer to as kind of like obscurist humor, like ridiculous, outrageous. Like the funny thing is how outrageous, how ridiculous, how unrealistic the situation becomes, right? Like with the whole clown at the birthday party or whatever, and he's like, this clown, everybody watch these pies, like he's like being like over the top, right? And he's like screaming about the clown, and at the very end the clown does the thing, and he just like flips his shit like over the top, like slow motion, freaking out how like the clown did the thing. And like the guy's like walking away, thumbs upping it. Like to me, like it was all like this ridiculous, over the top, manufactured bit, and that's where it felt like it could have been a Tim and Eric sketch. But then it would then pull back to being a real little like narrative story. Or like whenever they have the couple and they're like, oh, like we don't want people to find our adult film, you know, on the internet, and they're immediately like looking it up while they're there in the room. So like it almost became, surreal's not the right thing, but it became like almost a parody like of itself.
I am surprised how hard the show went on like the, I guess, raunchiness, which I wasn't complaining about, but I was just like, it was kind of surprising because I haven't seen that many shows, especially not recently. They're always talking about dripping hogs all the time.
If we were jerking each other off, there'd be so much coming here.
It's Freddy Krueger. It doesn't even make sense. It's the palm that does it. It's.
But to me, I think this show really, it walked a fine line with its tone, and like the raunchiness is a great example where there was some, but there wasn't too much, and it made me wonder if this show came a little bit later and was on Netflix, or if it was on HBO. Like, would we have like seen some dong? Like, would they have taken it too far?
It depends.
I'm not saying I don't want to see dong.
I was gonna say it depends on if you see showing dong is going too far, because I mean they definitely do that in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but you know, there's dong and then there's gratuitous dong. Am I wrong?
I feel like these guys, because of that, would do the gratuitous dong though, right?
Yeah.
Like it would be a whole sequence where they're arguing with the like future man level penis on each of them, like in the shower, and they're like flopping around. Like that would be the ridiculous things that Tim Robinson, you know, Sam Richards would do.
Yeah,
Richardson.
like we would see the pitch from the security guard who always talking about flopping dongs. Like we would probably see what his pitch would actually look like. But I feel like because this show was on Comedy Central, you can't do that, so they didn't, and it kind of preserved this little bit of wholesomeness.
My question is this: Tim Robinson had a special on Netflix. Like, how hard did that go? Did anybody watch that? Has anyone seen that?
I haven't.
Okay.
Is that I Think You Should Leave? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think you should leave.
Oh, I think you should
I've only
leave.
ever seen clips. I think I've seen like, it was too cringy for me. Like this show was not too cringy for me. It had cringe moments, but like that show was like, I'll stick to watching the clips that go viral.
Well, I've seen Sam Richardson and other stuff, and not everything that he does is cringe comedy. Some of it's more just like situational, classic sitcom type comedy as well. So I think that the cringe comes more from Tim than Sam.
Is this a thing where they're like in real life best friends and stuff, and they make shows together, or they just do a really good job on like having that kind of vibe where I would believe that they were just friends in real life that made a show together?
In my head, they are best friends.
Yeah, because they're not. They did a great job.
Like I read that they both grew up in the Detroit area, so I think that's also something that gives it that
and they
little bit of
worked
home
on the I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah, like Sam Richardson is like in half of the sketches on I Think You Should Leave, and I think I sent you guys that Totino's commercial that they were in recently. So it, you know, the chemistry between them is just so good.
Mm-hmm. It gets really high Rotten Tomatoes, 95%, and then high IMDb too.
Detroiters, or I Think You Should.
Detroiters.
It was a good show. I liked the supporting cast. I thought they did a good job. I feel like it's like, I mean, what do I know? But I feel like white husband, black wife. I don't see that very often on TV, and when I do, I don't really like think it's well done. Like as far as like, but I liked it was like a wholesome relationship and they got along with each other's families and stuff like that. I just like, I don't know. I like that part of it.
When his wife's friend dies and has the new person come into work and she's like getting her to tell what all the mean people would say about all the different people so that she can get her entertainment. That was fun.
His wife was good.
Yeah, the wife was really good. The chemistry with the with Sam also was really good as siblings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how good was the depiction of sibling dynamics in this show?
Mm-hmm. Even like Tim's younger brother was ridiculous and outrageous,
Yeah,
right?
it's like Trevor, is that what his name was?
Yeah, like I think everybody at least has a cousin who's a Trevor, where it's like, oh, how'd that job work out? They were horrible to him. How'd those other 30 jobs work out? Every single job was horrible to him.
They wanted him to
All
show up in the
15
morning.
people, not a single one was nice.
Yeah.
I will say I was a little surprised that Lorne Michaels was involved. I don't know why. Like whenever the first episode, I was like, oh really?
Oh, and the announcer from is it not Conan? It's Jimmy Fallon, right? Isn't on the first episode, wasn't that the guy that's like on Jimmy Fallon late night show? What was his store? He was like a king of something.
Like, life's too short to watch Jimmy Fallon. I don't know.
I was gonna say.
Ugh. You know what? Like, kind of threw me for a loop. There was at the end of the second season, because like it's not like each episode was connected to each episode perfectly, but I did feel like they carried on storylines. But then like the whole Hark Motors or whatever, the supercar that pooped, basically, that was just like a one and done deal. Like I thought that was gonna feed into the finale, but it just like cut off like immediately after the episode was over.
That was funny, but I would call that the low point of the show.
Yeah. That's such a dumb thing.
All I could think of when I saw that, I was like, it's someone's job was to make this substance and then like push it out the back of this car. Like someone's job on this show was to do that.
It's such a ridiculous idea. But that to me, like, it's the low point. But that I was laughing so fucking hard. I don't know. To me, that's the shit. The ridiculous, outrageous stuff. That's the stuff that had me just rolling. Devereaux.
I think for me, the high point was the joke about the 2 engagement rings in his fiance's stool. And that's how I found out you were cheating on me. I'm so sorry about that.
I liked Sam's dad.
I love the gag at his party about how every time he spoke, he wasn't even like introducing anybody. He was just critiquing everybody's public speaking abilities.
What about like the kid that tells the joke? You want to hear a joke? No, I don't think that a kid's joke is ever going to make me, an adult man, laugh. The interactions at the party too were so good.
Asked Santa for a massive hog, and he got it.
Do, like, at your family functions, are there speeches given? Like, I always find this really funny, this depiction in shows like this where, like, people are giving speeches.
Definitely not.
I have never been part of a family that did anything like that. Like, short of a wedding.
I've been to, like, family reunions, and, like, the host would kind of do something, but usually it was, like, right before they would do a prayer before, like, everyone ate. And that was, like, it. But, like, this was almost like the kind of speeches that you see at, like, weddings, right? Like, this was almost like they just needed a reason to have a wedding situation without a wedding.
My dad's side, there's no speech giving. My mom's side doesn't happen till it's your funeral, basically. People get up and talk about stuff.
You get a speech at your funeral. Got it.
Yep. When you're not around to hear it. I've only had to give 2. They were both at weddings, like Jay said. It's like, that's the only time I've ever had to give a speech of any kind. And I'm not going to say I wanted to do it each time, because public speaking sucks.
No, I had to give a speech at my grandfather's funeral. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Let's hustle.
Moment of silence passed.
Well, I was trying to think, like, there's a lot of stuff that I laughed at, but there also was a lot of sequences that were super cringy that, like, I just was like, ugh. And a lot of times they would linger really long.
So I always wonder about the cringiness of a show and where it's going to land on the Tenacious Aaron cringe index.
They're not the worst. Definitely not the worst. Had redeeming value, but like the stuff that was cringy, like it just would kind of linger.
It seems like you always say that if there's a release of the pressure, then that's something that helps out with you.
Yeah,
and I think the Sam character was like a lot of times a moderating force on the awkwardness of Tim Robinson.
I don't disagree, and there definitely were releases at times. Like they definitely were payouts. Or like something ridiculous like called out. Again, the whole like screaming at the clown and then the clown actually does the thing. Right?
Yeah.
Like there was cringe, and then there was a release. So I feel like the show did like it's a weird show. Like I agree with you, if it came out at a different time period or a little later, maybe it would have even been bigger. But it kind of is straddling a lot of different types of comedy. Like it's not a sitcom, but it has kind of sitcom-y elements. It's not like the pure cringe comedy, but it has some cringy stuff. It's not slapstick, but then there's times where it's ridiculous and over the top, right? So it felt like it was kind of like a fusion of a bunch of different comedic styles all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It was good that Tim's character usually had either someone else told him or he finally like accepted or learned that he was being like a jerk when he was being a jerk. So that went a long way to make it like more tolerable. Like at the family reunion when he's being a douche to Sam's new girlfriend, and he eventually he's eventually like cool about it. It was like in a legitimate way. So that really, when people like learn from it or get called out, it's like it makes it go down a lot easier than if it just continues to be a character flaw type thing that continues forever and ever.
They also worked pretty hard to show you that these two guys like had heart and that they cared about their community. Like that started pretty early with the whole sequence of them cheering the sanitation workers as they go out for the day and knowing them by name.
They also though like drove over to one of their clients and just like started insulting them.
I like the old couple. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, the old couple
old
that
couple.
were building the bunk beds on top of their store.
For some reason, that was the other part that cracked me up, where he's like yelling at him, and they're about to walk out the house. He just gets like really close, like, "Please don't do this, Will. Please don't do this." Just like right up in his face.
I also really loved a lot of the style choices in this show. Like the old car that they ride around in the whole time. I love that. Mm-hmm. And the way that the office looked like it was straight out of Mad Men.
The wardrobes as a whole are pretty good.
Except for those D2 Detroits.
Detroit.
D2 Troy.
Detroit.
Have you guys ever done one of the, I think they call it a pedal pub on this show, where you get a group of people on the thing and you pedal and you drink beer and you ride around?
No, but if you have to also drive it, that seems like a bad idea. Because it looked like in the show that they were also in charge of steering it.
Yeah, because it was just the two of them. I think in reality you have like a guide who's like doing this, at least the steering for you.
When it said they're pulling on the freeway, there was like a person blocked off like with a steering wheel out front.
Okay, yeah,
you could just
that makes
barely
sense.
see their hand steering it. I was like, you can't steer and pedal this thing.
Because I've never done one of those before, but that looks like a horrible idea. Like,
I've seen him in Dallas. Like I've seen him.
You see him, but I'm like, why would you do that?
I feel like if you're doing like a bachelorette party, like I don't know about a bachelor party, but a bachelorette party, and you're like going somewhere to go drink, like it might be a fun way to burn off some of the alcohol while you're drinking, but I don't know.
I don't think you're pedaling that hard. I bet there's
I don't think you're
some
pedaling
other
that hard.
method of propulsion, or it's just like you can't do it unless you have a full group of people, and then everyone it's just like You're probably just moving your legs. You're probably not actually doing much to move this thing. Maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like if you showed up to one of those things and somebody was doing it, you'd be like, oh, great. Hooray, exercise and alcohol.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Never done that before. Let's give it a try.
It's like when people decide to do the marathon in Denton where you have to drink halfway through it.
Oh, man. Do you remember in good old Waco, there was
The Gut Pack Marathon?
The Gut Pack Marathon. Yes. You know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do remember this. You had to run a half marathon, eat an entire gut pack, which is like a giant potato filled with barbecue and all the fixings, and then run like the other half of the marathon.
Yeah, it's like I think you only had to eat the small gut pack, but the small gut pack still has like 1.5 pounds of meat on it, and that's on top of beans and Fritos and cheese and a bunch of stuff. So I wonder if they still do that, or if like the health department had to step in.
If people are like, I feel like number one, has anyone like died from it?
Everyone inside the car was fine. Stanley.
If not, they're probably still doing it. And even then, as we see with A&M, even if someone has died from it, if it's been enough time since it happens, you could probably bring it back.
Oh man, the Gut Pack run. It was last run April 1st, 2024.
Yeah, so you can do it next year. You can start training right now.
Man.
Just do the first half, eat, and then get someone to pick you up.
If you're interested in a random factoid, Aaron, you just mentioned the A&M bonfire. Apparently, I think once in the 30s and once in the 50s, UT students attempted to light the bonfire early by dropping bombs from aircraft onto it.
Wow.
And we think that streamers are wild.
Yeah, people always did dumb shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, people always have done dumb shit. It's just now we have cameras.
How is as if lighting it somehow with it being unsupervised early was not enough, but to drop a bomb on it, you'll just scatter all of the, even if you do light it, you're just going to scatter flaming debris over a huge area because you dropped a bomb on it.
I'm not sure the plan was fully thought out.
What, students fully thinking out a plan? No.
Did y'all have bonfires back in high school days? The homecoming stuff?
Yeah.
Not that I recall, but I grew up and my grandparents would have bonfires at their ranch. So
I do love staring into a giant fire.
Yeah, no, it was the kind of fire where you couldn't get too close to it. It's hot.
Oh, it's where you turn. You need to face it for a little bit and then turn your back to it for a little bit and then face it for a little bit.
Oh yeah, we always set them after Thanksgiving. We would do Thanksgiving dinner together as a family and then go out and set the bonfire.
That sounds nice.
It is.
What a great topic for fall,
La la la.
The weather has turned quite nice up here, I will say.
It is not over here. It's not bad. It's not great though. There was a day that it was cold.
It's been in the 60s and 70s up here. It's been nice. There's trees. I can see the leaves changing, which is much different than the part of Texas I lived in before.
I was going to say, ours just go from green to dead. Let me ask this question. Does this make either of you want to go watch I Think You Should Leave on Netflix?
Definitely for me.
That's now on your to-do list.
Yeah, I think I had tried in the past and I maybe made it through one episode and it was too much for me. The kind of what you talk about the sustaining the tension and then ratcheting it up. It was too much for me. But especially now that I'm more familiar with Tim Robinson and his style and knowing that Sam Richardson is in a lot of it, I think I think I'd want to spend a little more time with that.
I think I would at least give it a shot because, like I said, the times that I laughed hard. I was dying laughing. But I also know, this is one of those things where it's I can handle this cringe. This has something that's worth sitting through. Whereas The Curse, that was my nightmare.
That one was rough.
That one was just pain. It's like masochism.
Do you think, Jay, you said, I guess your wife and her family are up from there. Like, are people, like, in this show, one of the parts that seemed like kind of not unrealistic, but was interesting is just like people kind of were quick to blow things off and not get too upset about things. Like, do you think that's like a characteristic of people in Detroit? Maybe, like, obviously I've never been there. I'm not from there. I don't know anybody from up there, but like, and it's exaggerated in the show, but pretty much everyone like was fine with like people yelling at other people and cursing or even at them, like insulting him, and everyone would just kind of like brush it off and get over it really quick.
I mean, it's definitely still the Midwest, so there's still that like niceness, and no one for the most part is going to be all that aggressive. But I think like what you're describing, I think that's just sitcom.
That's the world they needed to be able to allow themselves to scream at people without getting shot, maybe?
Yeah.
Because there were definitely points, especially with a lot of like kind of throwaway dialogue, where my wife would say, "God, that is spot on." Like when they were in the bar and the family with kids comes in and orders some pop and says, "Oh, let's hit up Myers, the grocery store, on our way home." She was like, "Oh God, I feel called out by this." Just the Faygo soda that you saw everywhere, like totally true to Detroit.
Is Mort Krim an actual newscaster that would destroy ISIS?
You know what? I don't think he would destroy ISIS, but I'm pretty sure he's a real broadcaster from WDIV TV in Detroit. It's kind of like the newscaster that you would see on cutaway clips on Arrested Development. He was actually the Los Angeles local Fox station anchor at the time.
Wild. I don't usually comment on the commercials, but
I think that level of detail was another thing that I think brought heart to this show, was that it was all filmed on location in Detroit. So like there was kind of a theme throughout the show of this is a place that might get insulted elsewhere, but this is a place where we have a lot of love for.
I think it's good also to have shows set in places like this, because like Detroit used to be one of the wealthiest cities in the United States at its heyday, and now, I mean, is in decay, I think would be one way of saying it, comparatively to where it was. So, and even like with the show and the different like businesses and stuff, right? Like they all seem kind of, I won't say off, but odd.
It's definitely it's a unique place. Like kind of like for the story that you just laid out, like there just aren't that many places where you have so much wealth and opulence and beautiful things and then have it crash and all go away so quickly. But like I think the population of Detroit proper has been cut in half, but like it's still a major city. There's still like 6 million people in the metro area. So like it's still people's homes, and that's kind of like central to like my thoughts about travel is like, it doesn't matter where you go. Like there are people who call that home and love it. And that's kind of what you have to seek out.
Well, it's like whenever you drive through like a town in West Texas that no longer exists for the purpose that it was built for, right? Like if some of these old oil towns or things like that, where the oil's not really pumping anymore. And so there's not really a reason for them. Like they just kind of are old remnants. Like that's, people still live there. People grew up there. People's families have been there for a long time. So I love stuff like that where it's showing different angles of Americana, so to speak. And on that level, that's something I did really appreciate about the show.
Yeah, no matter where you go, there's beauty to be found in everyday things.
Them giving the pastor shit for his bad joke. Oh, that wasn't funny. Like, then those laughs, that was because of the funeral.
Hope you don't think you deserved that. I also laughed at when they're talking to the little, like, the tech company people. They're like, Detroit's a nice place, whatever. It was like, oh, yeah, it's only a 12-minute walk. Walk! Oh, no. Do not walk.
Get murdered.
Put your phone away. Keep your head up.
Like I said, there were some parts that just absolutely had me dying laughing.
Well, y'all about ready to get some ratings going?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, this is I suppose you could say, the official scoreboard. We give the show a rating out of 10, and we typically pick a custom rating system to assign. So did any objects catch your fancy watching Detroiters?
Mort Krim.
No, I don't
Chumps of the
normally
week.
comment on these shows.
What'd you say, Tony?
I said chumps of the week.
Chumps of the week? Yeah. How many
I like
chumps?
that. Well, Tony, how many chumps of the week is Detroiters?
I think it might come in lower than y'all. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed it more than I thought. And then also, like, I feel like I was getting into it the longer it went. Like, probably if I started off in episode 1, you took my rating, it would be a lot lower than it was by the time I finished it, because I think I just got, like, accustomed to the type of humor, but it's not quite me all the way. So I'm coming in at 6.5 chumps of the week.
6.5 chumps of the week from Tony. How about you, Aaron?
I mean, that hits the nail on the head for me. Like, 6.5 is exactly where I was sitting. I laughed at a lot of bits, but the overarching like story or show like had a little too much cringe for me. Again, whenever I have to like turn my like entire body away from the screen, then it's one of those things where I'm like enduring it, but it had enough payout and enough release that made it worth watching. So that's why it stays positive. So 6.5 for me. 6.5 chumps of the week.
Well, you've moved now. So do you have a new setup with the pictures on the wall where you can watch when it's too cringy?
No, it's just that I have more areas where I can just kind of stand. Like, that's the way Christy used to watch, like stand watching, like completely facing away and watching in the reflection. I just end up walking around, not sitting comfortably enjoying the show, like letting it continue to do its thing and like going to the kitchen and getting a drink and, you know, standing facing away from it and letting the cringe continue to wash over me.
Fair enough.
Well, the average is super easy right now, Jay.
You know what? I'm going to make that math easy on myself, and I am going to agree. 6.5 chumps of the week feels right for this show.
Oh,
Where
look
it
at
was,
us.
Like it was so funny and it was so fun to watch, but it was kind of, I don't know if fluff is the right word, but like there was no density to it. There was really no like.
It's just bits.
You know, it was
It's
bits.
hard.
It was good bits.
It's hard. Like, you don't have the feeling where you gotta run up to text one of your friends, and be like, "You gotta watch this show so we can talk about it."
Yes.
There's not that feeling there.
Yeah.
It's memeable. You could send a clip to someone and they get enough of it that they don't have to watch the show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well said. Well, 6.5 from all of us gives us an average score of 6.5, and that puts it, just eyeballing it, looks right about in the middle of our master ranking, with tied with the first two seasons of Letterkenny, tied with The Man in the High Castle and Midnight Mass, just above Happy, just below Miracle Workers.
That's pretty good. Letterkenny is pretty good.
I was going to say, Letterkenny is one of the ones is a comedy that's not awkward. Like, I feel like it doesn't have a ton of cringe. Like, it may have some moments, but it's not like the heavy dose. So it's interesting, like, how everyone's different flavors kind of, like, balance out.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we weren't all 6.5 on Letterkenny.
We were not. I was definitely much higher. I was going to say Miracle Workers was also one of those ones.
I still can't get over that Letterkenny. Yes, yeah. Like that. I can watch that clip 100 times. It's still hilarious.
Tony was a 6.5. I was a 6. Aaron was a 7 on Letterkenny.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
The first season's not the best, in my opinion. I think the show gets better as it goes.
Yeah, we did just watch the first 2, and it adds some complexity and some nuance to the jokes as it goes.
Shoresy looks like it could be good. I haven't watched
Shoresy's
that.
so fucking good. But you need to watch through Letterkenny, because there's too much of the humor is inside humor, because Shoresy has bits throughout the entirety of the show, and then he kind of takes all those bits and turns it into an actual full-fledged character. It's good, though. They did a really fucking good job with it.
Well, shall we approach the wheel of Mirandamonium?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. What a sound. So we have here on the wheel, we have Catching Kelce, which I believe that was Jay you're offering.
Yes. I was inspired by Tony's offering that it sounded like he was offering something that he thought was bad, so I thought I'd offer something I thought was bad. This is a 2016 reality show. I'll just read you the tagline from Peacock. In search of his soulmate, NFL player Travis Kelce dates one woman from each of the 50 states, eliminating them weekly until he's left with the one.
Oh my god, that's awful.
I can't wait.
Tony brought us Grotesque Query.
Yeah, or grotesquerie. I don't know the proper pronunciation.
I
this
don't
one,
know
I think it's
either.
like I don't know. It has Travis Kelce in it, so it can't be that serious of a show. But I think it's like a dark, kind of gory crime mystery thing. I guess IMDb says a detective and a nun investigate a series of heinous crimes that seem personal while grappling with personal issues and uncovering a sinister web that raises more questions than answers. My friend says there will be plenty of interesting things to talk about if we watch this show, so I'm guessing good and bad and strange. So,
See, unfortunately, there's not a third TV show that has Travis Kelce in it, so...
Au contraire.
I don't know if there is or not. Actually, when I Googled it, the only thing that came up was, "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" And it was like one episode. So, I'm not selecting a show with Travis Kelce in it. Instead, I'm choosing Only Murderers in the Building. Only because it has come up on my feed multiple times as a show that's recommended, and I love Steve Martin Short. And Selena Gomez, I don't really have any feelings about, like one way or the other. Like I don't really couldn't place her in anything. Like I know that she's famous for, I don't know, was it Disney Channel or singing or something? But
Correct and correct.
And like Wizards of Waverly Place, which I never watched, but I think that was her big television show.
I feel like I remember that. That makes sense. It wasn't something I watched, but I was aware of it. So
I mean, it definitely wasn't on during the day between classes when I was in college, and I would definitely never like catch that. And you know,
well, I just clicked the spin, so we're spinning. So let's see what happens.
Let's spin the McConaughey wheel.
All right.
Let's go.
oh no.
Here we go.
Oh.
How many episodes does this have? Surely not 50.
Let's see. What hell have I brought myself here? It's only 7 episodes. The finale's an hour and a half, though.
Oh, well, that's...
Do
you gotta get through all
we?
50 states.
Are we still banishing? Does Jay now become banished from the?
Since
Wheel of
that's 2 in a
Random?
row, he's now off the wheel next time. Yes.
Correct. I am ineligible. However, I think because I won this one, my sudden departure is still in play. Right?
Yes.
So I can't submit a show, but I can get sudden departed.
So what happens is, like if we would have landed on sudden departure this time, it would have been your sudden departure because you were the winner last time.
Right.
If we get sudden departure next time, it's going to be yours again because you were the winner this time.
Man, I feel like the bad karma I've brought by offering this to the Wheel of
Give us
Randemonium.
Sudden
Like,
departure.
it might take its revenge on me. Is what I'm saying.
We boosted it above 2%, didn't we? Or is it exactly 2%?
It says it's weighted at 2.
Yeah.
Also, your list, your sudden departure list is not the worst. Like there's
Mine?
there's no J's. I was just looking at it. Like Friends season 1, it's not good, but also it's not like
I've watched that multiple
the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I've seen that.
Cool.
Happy season 2, you're gonna cringe. I'll be fine. Suit season 1, that's gonna be awful. Like I'll give you that one. Real Housewives, that's also gonna be awful. Just like any of them, and it doesn't matter what city, what flavor. That's gonna be awful. So, ugh.
Well, I replaced Friends with The Masked Singer. That's the one that I did replace with.
Oh, okay.
So
Mine has MILF Manor on there.
Yeah,
you're the one who put it.
That one's gonna be bad.
You're the
That's
one who
gonna be
picked it,
bad.
man.
You put Velma up, man. Like that's.
I heard that's bad. I haven't seen it, but I hear it. The people
I heard that
didn't like it.
I heard that everyone hated it. The left and the right. No one liked it.
Well, how do we? Okay, so if we land on it, it goes to the person that won last time. But then there's also we have 5 submissions, so
We're gonna spin
we
again.
roll again. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that lasts until we get our next mega show, right? That's how we're doing that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, before we leave, do you have like what our next one's going to be at 100? What episode are we on? Was this like 70 something?
There'll be 73, I believe.
Okay, so then we need to talk about we need to start gestating on the next megasode, is what you're saying? Because 100 is not that far.
Yeah, that's 2 years away.
Which again, with the way that we're going, is just
More like 4.
Maybe 4. Well, do we have to do it 100? When was the last megasode was just at?
It was 50.
Was it 50? Was
Yeah.
it that far? Twin Peaks doesn't seem it was that long ago before that.
I know, right? But it was.
That's wild. Well,
What was it before 50?
That was our first megasode.
yeah.
Oh, 50 was the first.
And so you're saying
then-
75 was the second one, and then 100 would be the third. And well,
I mean, I guess we have to do The Wire.
Well,
As
I mean, I'd be down for the fucking Wire because I want to know what everyone has to say about it. It's dense though.
or Sopranos. Like it's probably an HBO
Boy.
prestige
Oh.
drama.
Gabagool. If we watch The Sopranos, I'm just gonna make a lot of oh.
Oh, you know what would be a megasode, but a painful megasode? Game of
What?
Thrones.
Oh, just I can't not see that one episode that I
could
didn't
do,
see
like-
whenever it aired because it was all pitch black.
We could do like 3 season. Well, no, we could do like 2, 4 because the last 2 seasons are super short or something.
yeah, that's kind of the thing we'll have to figure out if we want to do a show like The Wire, because we haven't really tackled a show with that many seasons before. Like, I think the most that we've really done at one time is 3.
It's true. Twin Peaks though was
Twin Peaks we did the seasons and then the movie.
Right.
yeah.
But we got time. We can figure it out.
Freaking
Good time.
Dougie, dude. I'm never gonna get over that.
Dougie.
I mean, but at the same time, aren't you glad that you now are in on all of those references?
Oh, 1,000%.
I wish
1,000.
I could go back in time because it's like I don't know. I was thinking about this with movies too. It's kind of like The Matrix. It's like we got the front end deal of The Matrix. Like 99 came out. I definitely saw it in theaters. Like that changed action movies pretty much forever. So like we
Yes.
got that one. But it's like, like Twin Peaks, like supposedly like, like old movies like Citizen Kane or whatever, or like old Hitchcock movies or something like that. It's like you don't know like what was the first. You can't appreciate film techniques or cinematography like as much when you like didn't realize like, oh, this was like a mind-blowing thing when it came out. Like The Matrix is the only thing I can think of that I've like been through where it's like I can tell there was like a difference between before and after. So I wish like Twin Peaks I feel like is probably one of those where like things have referenced it. Probably was a big moment for like surrealism in mainstream TV, but coming in at the end so much later, like I can't really appreciate the impact it's fully had on things. Whereas if I was watching it at the time, I probably would have been like, whoa.
I feel like one of the things that it's almost subtle, like especially when someone is a fan of Twin Peaks or is inspired by it. Usually, like it's like, was it Muse recorded at the Red Room, right, or the Black Lodge? Like it's little things like that. It's like a little like nod. I think that another one that you could say you lived through is like the Avatar era, right? Like I feel like I personally call bullshit. I personally feel like this is a big pile of horse shit. But like I remember everyone's like, oh my god, the CG graphics are like so amazing when Avatar came out. And I remember saying to myself, I'm unimpressed because video games have been this cool for a long time. But I feel like CG kind of taking a step up, it like from Matrix and from everything, like we have lived through that. At the same time, do you feel like there's been After Effects and like the really, really shitty CG, I feel like has become ubiquitous because it's so cheap to do now. And I feel like we're more likely to get something like that. And now getting something like practical effects, it's rare. And I almost feel like now that's where I'd like to see it go back to more practical effects and things like that, because movies have gotten, or shows,
that's where
entertainment.
you see the like critical acclaim for effects now is when they actually do it. Like people call it out. They're like, oh, they really did a lot of practical effects, and like that's kind of like a selling point.
Did you see Oppenheimer? Because like Safe Space here at Cone of Silence, it wasn't that great. But
you're saying that the nuke in Twin Peaks was better than the nuke in Oppenheimer? Because that's what I've heard.
That's that's a lot of people are saying. Lots of people.
A lot of people.
I'm just saying Oppenheimer wasn't that great, but the achievement of what Christopher Nolan was able to pull off was enough to have people give him the Oscar for it.
That's interesting. I didn't watch it, so like I didn't care.
Because that's kind of his thing, is the preference for practical effects, right?
So this is weird. This is really interesting. I feel like I should like Christopher Nolan a lot more than I do, but like I constantly badgered by people to watch Interstellar, and I still haven't. At this point, it's kind of like when you meet someone who's never eaten a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like I'm just saying no because like people are like so insistent that I watch it.
Yeah, it's Tiger King syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Tiger King. I had a lot of fun watching it. It was a cultural phenomenon, but at the same time, not good. Like it's not good entertainment. Yeah. It was like like you can't go back and watch like Tiger King now and be like, I get it. I get why everybody was into it. I feel like all of us collectively be like, why were we into this? Why was this such a big deal? But when it was the moment, when it was all happening, we didn't have anything else to do. Yeah. We needed a distraction from Oklahoma.
No, but you're refusing to watch Interstellar?
I just haven't, and every time someone's like, oh, you should watch it, I'm like, oh, yeah. I just kind of fade off and don't bring it up again.
Yeah.
So I feel like I enjoyed Inception and I enjoyed the Batman movies, but like whenever I remember when Interstellar came out and people were like, it's like, oh, it looks so beautiful. I was just like, it looks boring.
There's always some sort of like financial urban legend with Christopher Nolan films. Like Dark Knight Rises, there was like, it was cheaper for them to actually buy a jetliner and tear it apart than to like CG that scene or something like that. And then like on Interstellar, it's like it was cheaper for them to actually like
go to a black hole than it was
to rent a farm and grow like cornfields and like film there and then sell the corn afterward the movie. Like they like saved a lot of money by doing that somehow or something. There's some sort of like financial urban legend on.
I wish the urban legend was that they filmed it on location.
Yeah, that reminds me of the conspiracy theory about Stanley Kubrick and the moon landing.
Yeah,
where he's such a perfectionist that he insisted they do it on location.
Yeah, that's so good.
Man, are there any movies? Yeah, sorry, I don't want to keep us too much longer. But like, are there any hyped up films that are coming out in the next 3 to 6 months that are
there's always the Christmas radar? There's always the Christmas action movie. The problem
Red
is
One,
that
the Chris the Rock, not Chris, the Rock and what's his name? J. Jonah Jameson.
I don't know. See here, what are the movies?
I recently saw a trailer for a film called September 5 that's coming out. That's about the 1972 Munich Olympics and the attack on the athletes. It looks intense because it's from the perspective of the ABC sports crew that was there to cover the Olympics, who now is under pressure to, pivot and be news in the middle of this terrorist attack. It looks pretty interesting.
I miss movies that didn't matter. Like, I feel like everything has to be something intense or serious or, sending a message or whatever. This is the one thing I'll say about Detroiters. I did appreciate that it didn't really matter anything that was going on in it, because I feel like we live in a day where like everything has to be like a message, and I am getting a little tired of messages, if I'm being honest. I
mean, I don't know if you can say that they don't make that anymore. I think last time I counted, there were 7 films in the Despicable Me franchise.
That's fair. I'm excluding all children content.
What? How very dare you?
Generally. And even then, I don't think that that's technically safe, like with all the Disney hoopla that people are yelling and screaming about.
So are you looking more for like a Hot Tub Time Machine kind of thing?
Yeah, like what happened to the movies in the mid 2000s that literally were just dumb, stupid movies about nothing other than someone driving across country, hanging out with some Amish people to meet the girl that they were like catfishing on the internet. Like that. There was a whole.
Yeah, that's a classic right there.
That's a classic movie. Like that describes like
Sex Drive.
Sex Drive. You knew exactly what I was talking about.
That movie cracked me up when it came out.
It was so funny. Like, it was a ridiculous, stupid movie. Or like Miss March, like from the Wise Kids Like a lot of these movies from that like mid 2000s outrageous, ridiculous, I guess college era comedies. I just feel like those don't get made anymore.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is it the college era comedies? Everybody grew up during the pandemic, and now we just don't get that. Everything's got to be serious, or I
feel like
a fucking YouTube short.
The raunchy comedy has like really they don't exist, but it's like like 21, 22 Jump Street, Old School, like Wedding Crashers, like those kinds of movies. Those aren't really like a thing anymore.
How many American Pie movies did they make? Like
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall was like a classic, so good.
See, now I gotta look. Now I gotta look it up.
Look up what are the college like?
No, just how many American Pie movies there were.
There's gotta be. I'm gonna say 6. 6 American Pie movies.
Well, there was the mainline ones. There were 4 of those, and then you've got your spin-offs.
There were at least 3 spin-offs, so 7?
Yeah, so I count 4 spin-offs for a total of 8.
God. 8?
I do want to see Nosferatu.
Well, hold on a second. I did not count the DVD onlys. Do you want to do the DVD onlys too? Because
I think you gotta. Like to get the full picture. Like it technically counts. Those.
Oh, this looks like it's just one more. So we got 9.
9.
Looks like
they got their money out of that IP. They could probably do a reboot now.
Oh, don't.
You know it. They could do a reboot and people would see it. And they would listen to Creed on their way to the fucking theater.
So who would you rather see rehabilitated, Creed or Nickelback?
Nickelback.
How about Puddle of Mud?
No. I want to just hold on. I want to say this. Nickelback, I don't care for their music. Then they're a bunch of whiny bitches, but honestly, I just feel like they got memed on, and that's the only reason why they like get shit is because they were memed on. Creed, dude's a fucking asshole. Like he's just not a great dude. I don't doubt that there are people that enjoy his music, but I don't think the music's particularly interesting or good. And I think it's really funny that some of the new fans get to see like him show up super late and drunk to shows. Also, isn't there like some weird story where he's like in a threesome with Kid Rock at some point in time? Like what a weirdo. I guess maybe Kid Rock wasn't as Kid Rocky as he is now, but I feel like he always was from the trailer park.
That reminded me of the show. Like, who would have thought so much Kid Rock? That was a funny reoccurring bit on the D Awards where all the other commercials are always the exact same commercial. Except for their commercial.
How about the host being Richard Karn? Like, that was amazing.
You gotta be so like comfortable with yourself to like basically like parody yourself on a TV show.
Completely agree.
You telling me Shanae was just Martin? Oh man. Well, it has been a ton of fun talking about Detroiters with two of my favorite gentlemen. So we want to thank our executive producer, Dick Wolf. I want to thank my two co-hosts. Thank you for joining me here today.
Always
You're welcome.
And until next time, talking about Catching Kelce, available on Peacock. Until next time, we will let the mystery be.
We can talk about it more. What were you doing then?